Good evening. Welcome to the Downers Grove Village Council's first meeting of 2021. Due to the continuing COVID pandemic, we are operating mostly remote for village meetings, including this one. In order to do our part to minimize the potential for virus spread and to be mindful of social distancing, we have most of the team on conference call tonight. Those participating by conference call include Greg Jose, Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioners Marge Earl, Nicole Wallace, Leslie Sadowski-Fugit, and Kavanaugh Gray. Commissioner Cullivaney is not with us this evening. As many know, he continues to fight COVID. It's been a serious struggle for Rich, and our thoughts and prayers are with him and his family. Here in council chambers with me is David Fieldman, our village manager, Enza Petrarca, our village attorney, and Rosa Berardi, our village clerk. Copies of tonight's agenda, as well as links to all documentation we have here, can be found on our website at downers.us, where in the lower left-hand corner you can find a link titled Current Week's Meetings. During these challenging times, we continue to provide opportunities for public input via email and our village e-remarks system. Public comment will also be taken electronically during the course of the meeting. To submit a question or comment electronically, you can visit the same This Week's Meetings Village webpage and click on the green Submit Public Comment link anytime during the meeting. We will check periodically for new submissions. And we'll do our best to answer those comments and get them into the record and answer them as we go along. We have placed our typical public comments section at the end of the meeting to allow comments submitted electronically during the course of the meeting the best chance to be recognized. As is sometimes the case during regular meetings, we may have to get back to folks with additional information at a later date. As always, we'll begin our meeting this evening with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Rosa, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Barnett?
Here.
Commissioner Jose?
Here.
Commissioner Earl?
Here.
Commissioner Wallace?
Here.
Commissioner Sadowski-Fugit?
Here.
Commissioner Cullivaney? Commissioner Gray?
Here.
Thank you. Is there a motion to conduct the January 5th, 2020 Village Council meeting electronically?
Mayor, I move that the council conduct the January 5th, 2021 Village Council meeting electronically.
Second.
Questions or comments? Greg?
No, Mayor, thank you.
Marge?
No, Mayor, thank you.
Kavanaugh?
No, Mayor, thank you.
Leslie?
No, Mayor, thank you.
And Nicole?
No, Mayor, thank you.
Thank you. Rosa, please call the roll.
Commissioner Jose?
Aye.
Commissioner Earl?
Aye.
Commissioner Gray?
Aye.
Commissioner Sadowski-Fugit?
Aye.
Commissioner Wallace?
Aye.
Mayor Barnett?
Aye. Item 3 on our agenda tonight, minutes of previous council meetings. Is there a motion concerning previous minutes?
Mayor, I move that the council adopt the minutes of the December 15th, 2020 meeting as presented.
Second.
That motion is made by Commissioner Jose and seconded by Commissioner Earl. Any questions or comments? Greg?
No, Mayor, thank you.
Marge?
No, Mayor, thank you.
Kavanaugh?
No, Mayor, thank you.
Leslie?
No, Mayor, thank you.
Nicole?
No, Mayor, thank you.
Rosa, please call the roll.
Commissioner Jose?
Aye.
Commissioner Earl?
Aye.
Commissioner Gray?
Aye.
Commissioner Sadowski-Fugit?
Aye.
Commissioner Wallace?
Aye.
Mayor Barnett?
Aye. Item 4 on our agenda this evening is the consent agenda. Is there a motion?
Mayor, I move that the council adopt the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion to approve the consent agenda is made by Commissioner Jose and seconded by Commissioner Earl. Any questions or comments? Greg?
No, Mayor, thank you.
Marge?
No, Mayor, thank you.
Kavanaugh?
No, Mayor, thank you.
Leslie?
No, Mayor, thank you.
Nicole?
No, Mayor, thank you.
Rosa, please call the roll.
Commissioner Jose?
Aye.
Commissioner Earl?
Aye.
Commissioner Gray?
Aye.
Commissioner Sadowski-Fugit?
Aye.
Commissioner Wallace?
Aye.
Mayor Barnett?
Aye. Item 5 on our agenda tonight is the active agenda. We do not have an active agenda this evening, so we'll move right on to item 6, our first reading. This is the portion of the meeting where we begin to consider items we'll plan to take action on at a future meeting, and we'll hand it over to Dave.
Thank you, Mayor. There are 4 items on tonight's first reading agenda and really 2 discussion topics. The first 3 items relate to a property on Belmont Road and a zoning request. For background information on this petition, will be presented by Stan Popovich, our Community Development Director. Stan.
Thank you, Manager Fieldman. Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, council members. I'm presenting a petition tonight before you for an annexation, rezoning, and special use for the Belmont Bible Church located at 5430 Belmont Road and 2097 Inverness Avenue. The property is located on the west side of town, north of Maple and just south of the Ellsworth Industrial Park. The property located here, outlined in blue, the southwest corner of Belmont Inverness, is partially within the village. The red boxes there are the 2 properties within the village, and these properties outlined here in blue are unincorporated. The petitioner is proposing to annex these these parcels into the village here, and as they would come up as annexations, they would automatically be rezoned to the R1 zoning classification. The petitioner is proposing to rezone all of these properties into an INP1 classification, which is a neighborhood scale, institutional, and public use, to allow the construction of a roughly 32,000 square foot, 2-story church and school building shown here in this rendering. If we look at the site plan shows a 2-story building located along the west side of the property with a parking field on the east side of the property. There are 2 entrances provided onto the property, one off of Belmont Road and one off of Inverness Avenue there. The pedestrian connections are both from Belmont and from Inverness and are provided from those here shown in the black dash there, one from Inverness and one again from Belmont, connecting right to the main entrance under the porte cochere there. The parking lot will be constructed of permeable pavers with a permeable base that will meet the village's stormwater ordinance. Public improvements along the south side of Inverness will include stormwater improvements and curb and gutter as well. Along Inverness, there's a large honey locust tree. On this graphic, we can see the existing conditions based on an aerial. The tree is circled here in green with the existing sidewalk in black stripes there. The petitioner is proposing to remove the tree and construct a sidewalk that runs parallel to Inverness. Based on grade changes in the area, the pedestrian connection from Inverness runs along the parking lot and then down to the sidewalk. The petitioner did prepare 2 concepts in an attempt to maintain the honey locust. However, neither concept will result in keeping the tree, as the amount of work that is being completed around the tree in the right-of-way and on the property is significant. Concept 1 involves removing 5 parking spaces and relocating the sidewalk to create a larger green space, but maintaining a circulation lane for vehicles around the building. Concept 2 involves removing 9 parking spaces and the drive aisle and maintaining the location of the sidewalk around the tree. Again, based on the work in the right-of-way and other improvements proposed on the site, neither concept would result in keeping the tree. The petitioner will be required to pay for the removal of the tree and has agreed to install 12 native species for the parkway trees as replacements. The staff will add a condition to the ordinance which notes that the replacement trees shall be native trees. Next, we'll look at the building itself. The top image on the screen is the elevation facing Belmont. The bottom elevation will face Inverness. The 2-story building will be a precast concrete building with composite wood paneling. The first floor will house assembly spaces, offices, and preschool classrooms. The second story will be vacant currently, but will in the future host preschool, elementary, and high school classrooms with potentially some offices. The second story, as noted earlier, will be built out in the future. The proposal, as shown on the plans, meet all the zoning ordinance requirements. With regard to the comprehensive plan identifies the site as low-intensity office that is sensitive to the scale, height, setback, and building materials of the surrounding area. The church and the school building itself is sensitive to the surrounding context in the area. The site is also identified as a catalyst site that needs to provide a transition from industrial to residential. The proposed development does that as it provides a nice transition between the industrial uses to the north and the residential uses to the south. Additionally, the proposal develops an underutilized site, supports the modernization and improvement of private schools and institutional uses. With regard to the annexation, the property is contiguous to the village, so it is eligible for annexation. The Plan Commission found the standards for rezoning and special use were met and recommended approval at their essential December 7th meeting. Mayor, if there's any questions that I can answer for you tonight or council members, I'd be happy to do that.
Thank you, Stan. These are intended to be a little bit more discussion, these first readings, but just to make sure that we get everybody an opportunity to weigh in and don't miss anyone or talk over, I think we'll still go around by name. So at least for the first pass here, I'll start with Greg. Did you have any comments or questions for Stan?
No, I think the presentation was straightforward. I appreciate the petition, and I look forward to supporting it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks, Greg. Marge?
Yeah, I do have some comments, Mayor. Most notably, I went out and visited the site and really looked at this tree to see the condition that it was in this afternoon, and I have numerous pictures that I took. Yes, when the tree is huge. And if I thought that this tree was actually going to make it through construction, I would be fighting tooth and nail to save it. But the condition of the tree is already suspect. Clearly, the village thought enough of this tree at the time they put the sidewalk in to make the sidewalk go in a very wide circle around this tree. But sometime after that happened, after the sidewalk was put in, this tree must have been struck by lightning, because there is one very huge visible scar that runs about halfway down the tree to almost the base of the tree. And there is significant insect damage inside that scar. And the more I looked at it, the more I realized that even if we did save this tree, this tree probably is not going to last. It is showing signs of bark separation in several spots, and it's probably not going to live if anything gets disturbed anywhere near it. And therefore, the best course of action would just be prudently to take it down now and not have to take it down in 3 years when we realize that everything has killed it, which we have seen numerous times on construction projects around Downers Grove, which is why we now take such precautions to fence in all of the trees on the parkways, because it's happened to us quite a bit, and we don't want to see it repeated. I hate to lose a tree of this size, but I really don't think, given another 5 years, that this tree would be making it anyway, quite honestly. So I am totally in support of this proposal and of taking the tree down and straightening out the sidewalk and doing everything else at the same time that this parcel is redeveloped. Other than that, I have no problems at all with the annexation and the redevelopment. So I want to thank the Bible Church very much for coming in and proposing this. This is going to look great when it's all done. So I'm looking forward to it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Marge. Kavanaugh?
Thank you, Mayor. I just had a few comments that I think were answered a little bit earlier regarding the annexing, the rezoning, and the special use of this project. And so no additional questions right now. I think they were answered previously looking at my notes, but I had a chance to go through this as well. Looking forward to seeing this project come online, and so I'll be supporting it as well. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Kavanaugh. Leslie?
Yep, I do have a couple comments and a couple of questions. I am happy to hear that they want to use permeable pavement and other stormwater improvements, including the 12 additional native trees. I know we were clearing up if they were going to be native or not right before the meeting, so I appreciate that update. It is difficult for me to lose a tree of this size, especially given although there will be stormwater improvements, we do know from our previous discussions on the stormwater utility fee that churches are exempt from it. So in addition to losing a very large caliper tree that can store water, we're also adding likely more impermeable surface to a property that we're not going to be able to get any revenue from stormwater funds. So that one's a little bit tough for me. I'm sure my fellow commissioners are not excited about revisiting that, but I would be interested in it one day. I am a little bit curious. I know that with this expansion, the idea is that we need that additional parking because of that second phase where the second floor is going to be additional classrooms, but it's not clear on the timing of that. So would we be able to get a little bit more information about what is kind of leading to this demand and why we don't really have any sort of a future date or future plans on when that second phase might be implemented? Just want to make sure that as we develop this building that we have more of a concrete idea of what it's going to look like and the timing. And then the other question I had is similar to Marge. I'm familiar with that tree. Do we have information on the health of that tree were we not to have all of this construction project? Is this something that was going to come down within the next 5 years anyway, or is this something that we think could have been healthy but is going to be impacted by this construction project? Just so that I can kind of get a sense for that and weigh what we know. And that's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Leslie. Nicole?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll try and be brief so that I'm not repeating too much. I appreciate the petition coming before us tonight and appreciate how this will update this particular area. I want to thank the petitioner for planting native trees in the place of the tree that is currently there, which of course is more environmentally friendly. Like a couple of my colleagues, I would be interested in knowing about the health of the tree as well. When I looked at it, it's kind of hard to tell. It does look like it's had some damage to it in the past, but I would also be curious to get some type of health status on that tree before making a final decision. That's all, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm excited about this and frankly kind of excited that there's something to start our year off with some optimism. The tree aside, I don't want to diminish the value of a big old tree, whether it's aesthetics or stormwater. It's real and it's an issue. But the fact that in this time people are still wanting to invest in our community, make improvements to our community, this is a good thing. This site being identified as a catalyst site speaks to the importance of that, as Marge mentioned, up and down Belmont. That if we look at ourselves 15 or 20 years ago, pre-underpass, and think about what we want it to look like 15 or 20 years from now, this does a great job of forming that transition. I agree entirely with the Plan Commission's opinion on that. I got two questions. One is a little bit of a rabbit trail, so bear with me. I thought I read somewhere in the documents prior to tonight that there was a net reduction in impervious area. And so if we could pin that down, not this moment, but I'd like to know that for sure. And then the sidewalk around the tree was mentioned. This is the rabbit trail question. Do we have any kind of policy that tells us to go back and straighten those, or do we kind of consider those character? There's a lot of them around town, because the truth of the matter is, this community has for decades and decades valued trees and done a lot of good work to try and preserve them, including our own sidewalk maintenance. But the also unfortunate truth is trees do die. Whether lifespans are 5 years or 10 years or whatever, they move on. And so there's a lot of sidewalks like that. And I'm just curious if we intend to just leave them that way and call it our character, or if we think we want to straighten them out sometime. Are there any questions from the balance of the council after listening to each other discuss this? Anyone? Okay, we'll certainly talk about this again next week, And anybody at home that's watching that wants to ask questions after listening to the presentation tonight, please go ahead and do that via the village's e-remark system. And with that, we'll move on to the next item.
And just to wrap this one up for next week, we will be providing the council and the community information on the health of the existing honey locust tree in the Inverness right-of-way, information on moving forward on the second phase of this project, the change in impervious area between the existing conditions and the proposed development conditions, and the straightening out of curvilinear sidewalks around trees. We'll get some information on that as well. With that, it leads us to the last item on tonight's first reading agenda, which is an ordinance which would establish special service area number 11 in downtown Downers Grove. This ordinance would create a special service area, as I said, in the downtown. Funds from this special service area would be used for funding for Downtown Management Corporation, additional snow and ice control, enhanced services that we're used to, economic development activities in the area, and enhanced landscaping and beautification, among other items. This would be a property tax that would be levied on commercial properties only in the downtown in an amount not to exceed 1%. The council recalls that this is a key component of the plan for the future of the downtown, which has been a multi-year planning effort that the council's been involved with. Also, our partner in this project, Downtown Management Corporation, has been working on this with us for many years, and they are in support of this special service area. We have been talking about this exact proposed SSA since July of last year, and we're closing in on the last steps of creating this SSA. We'll be happy to answer any questions the council may have.
Thanks, Dave. Again, we'll walk around the internet room, I guess, virtual room. Greg, do you have any questions or comments on this one?
I just want to thank staff for bringing this forward. It's nice to take the next step on getting this all wrapped up. This is a project that's been going on for quite some time. And I want to thank everybody in the downtown management, all of the property owners that have worked with us on all of this. It's going to be nice to bring this to a successful conclusion. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Greg. Marge?
Ditto what Greg said, so thank you, Mayor.
Kavanaugh?
Thank you, Mayor. Just good to see this particular item coming to a conclusion. Thank you to everyone from staff and to all the members involved and the hard work that went into this, but it's just really good to see when you think about the timeline, something that even preceded me on the council. It's good to see us coming to a positive close on this. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Kavanaugh. Leslie?
Really just the same as everyone else. Thanks to staff and everyone in the downtown for finally bringing this to a close.
Thank you. Nicole?
Thank you to everyone that made this happen. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. I'll just remind everybody watching at home or watching later, downtown is a unique portion of our community. We have a community made up of unique areas. Downtown is certainly one of them. But many of the things that people sort of just have in their head about what is downtown, when it's car shows and it's Christmas decorations or Valentine's decorations or ice sculpture festivals or whatever, the list is pretty long. A lot of that is funded in part and organized in part by downtown management. This is a very long-standing, almost 23 years now, organization that was really well thought out by councils and mayors long ago to try and make the most of our downtown. But it's part of a structure that has a definitive end date. And so preparing to try and continue that work, what that looks like and how it's going to get done has been a big part of this council's efforts and a big part of the downtown management's efforts over, as Dave said, the last year. It is super important. It seems a little dry. I think at the last meeting of the year, last year, we talked about how this was kind of like tax levies. We kept talking about the same thing over and over again. But it is super important. And so downtown management, thank you. Mike Baker, and on behalf of the village in particular, thank you. This is a really big deal for our community, and I'm excited that it's going forward. With that, we'll go back to Dave. Anything further for us?
Nothing more on this item, and that concludes our first reading. I'll just double check to see if there were any public comments on any first reading items.
There are none.
Thank
No
you.
comments, Mayor.
Thank you.
So that concludes first reading, Mayor. Thank you.
All right, well, how about a manager report?
No report tonight, Mayor. Happy New Year.
Well, you're itching to get out of here, huh? Next item on our agenda is public comments. As Dave just noted, we checked with Enza. There were no additional public comments that came in through the course of the meeting. And so that takes us to item 9, our attorney's report. Enza.
Thank you, Mayor. 4 items tonight to present. The first is an ordinance annexing 5430 Belmont Road and 2097 Inverness Avenue to the village. An ordinance rezoning certain property located at 5416, 5418, 5430 Belmont Road and 2097 Inverness Avenue. An ordinance authorizing a special use for 5416, 5418, 5430 Belmont Road and 2097 Inverness Avenue to permit a religious assembly and private school use. And an ordinance establishing the special service area number 11. All will be on next week's active agenda, Mayor.
Thank you, Enza.
That is all.
Item 10 on the agenda, mayor and council member reports. This is kind of an open-ended opportunity for council members to bring up ideas that are on their mind or subjects and goings-on in the community or other engagements with other bodies that they might be involved in. So we'll go through the list again, starting with Greg.
Thank you, Mayor. I suppose it was just a matter of time before COVID-19 touched the council directly. It's touched so many across the country. I just want to, as I'm sure all of my colleagues will, note that Commissioner Cullivaney and his family are in our thoughts and prayers, and we're praying for his speedy recovery, and we look forward to having him not just back on the phone, but having all of us back in council chambers very soon, and enjoying the meetings together once again. Thank you very much, Mayor.
Thank you, Greg. Marge?
Yeah, Commissioner Cullivaney is really having a time with the COVID, and I think we've all been watching him fight this fight long distance, and it's really made an impact, I think, on every one of the council members and staff as well. And our thoughts and prayers are with Rich and his family at this time. And there's, try to be kind to yourself and other people, and wear your masks and wash your hands, because this is still out there, and this can be very scary. On a lighter note and a more positive note, 55th Street looks to be about done. They finished up the striping. I saw them hooking up the last stoplight, I think, at 55th and Fairview this afternoon, and I believe that means the intersections at 55th and Main and 55th and Fairview are, for all practical purposes, complete, which was long and arduous on everyone involved, but we're very grateful that it's wrapped up. So thank you to everyone who made that happen, especially staff who I know worked very hard to try to get that wrapped up before, even with the snow flying this year. So thank you, everyone, and hopefully everybody will be back with us soon. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Marge. Kavanaugh.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to remind residents that this week through the 15th, or starting this week through the 15th, we are having Christmas tree pickup from their homes, and then after that, or actually going through this time through the 11th, drop off of Christmas trees at McCullum and Whitlock. This is actually the first year that I have not had a Christmas tree, and so this year is kind of mandated and dictated kind of a smaller, well, actually not a live tree, but actually has mandated and dictated a smaller approach to the holiday. But there's nothing worse than trying to dispose of a tree after you've missed that deadline. So just remember the 4th through the 15th, and actually dropping off your trees at McCullum and Whitlock through the 11th. The other thing is that just a kind of a slight look back on the past year. I think 2020 has taught me a bunch of things, but one of those has been to not look too far ahead. I have taken small joys, believe it or not, in just writing the year 2021. I never thought that would be something that would put a smile on my face. Writing a a check or writing something on a page, and the tiny joys that have come out of writing a new year. But with everything that we've talked about and everything that will be talked about, I can't tell you that my mind has ventured very far from Commissioner Colavini. I will just simply say, not to drag out what will be said this evening, Commissioner Colavini, we miss you. Get better day by day, get stronger, and come home. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Kavanaugh. Leslie?
Thank you, Mayor. I do hope that everyone had a safe and happy holiday season. As we're all going to discuss Commissioner Colavini, because it has personally impacted every single one of us, and as we cope with this illness, I cannot plead with everyone enough to please follow the public health guidelines. Wear a mask, wash your hands, socially distance, and please, however you feel about our governor, please follow his executive orders. There is hope on the horizon with the vaccine. Finally, it looks like 2021 might be our year. But please remember that every life altered or lost by COVID has a name, and they have a family, and they have friends and people who love them. And so it doesn't matter what age they are or if they're immunocompromised, their life still means something to a great number of people. And so I just ask that we give people grace and not kind of toss that around too much. So stay safe, stay healthy. That's all I have. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Leslie. Nicole?
Thank you, Mayor. I know we are all feeling COVID fatigue. We felt this months ago, and unfortunately that has continued to be the case for most of us. When you think about how tired you are, I ask, like my colleagues, that you keep in mind Commissioner Colavini, who is currently fighting for his health and his life. We love and miss him. Please continue to join us in praying for him, and send his family your prayers or your good vibes, whatever suits you. Please continue to wear a mask and continue to be kind to one another, because we are all going to keep navigating this pandemic as a community and a nation, at least for the next several months ahead. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Nicole. Well, for those watching at home, when the meeting's over and you get a chance to go to YouTube, watch the last 5 minutes again. This is your village council, and what you'll hear if you listen to that one more time is a group of people, friends, neighbors, relatives, fellow residents that really care for their community and about each other and do their best to try and encourage us to make good choices, whether it's finding small joys or giving people space or being kind to yourself or to one another. That's really what this is all about. We're going to get through COVID at some point, but when we look back, hopefully we'll all be still glad we're in Downers Grove. So spend a couple minutes and review the important words to start the year that my colleagues all left us with. I have one sort of slightly drier piece of information, but nonetheless important, that I do want to pass on. I know vaccinations are on the minds of many. And the DuPage County Health Department website is one place where you can monitor what's going on. The Health Department also has a weekly update email specific to COVID-19. So I would encourage everybody to bookmark the DuPage County Health Department's website, in particular the COVID-19 page, and also to sign up for that email newsletter. When COVID's over, you can hit that unsubscribe or spam button and get it out of your way, but between now and then, which is going to be a while, it's best if we're all as involved and informed as possible. So you can sign up to receive that email by visiting DuPageHealth.org, DuPageHealth.org, click on the COVID-19 button, and then click on the icon titled Weekly Updates. At that point, you'll be prompted for your name and email. One more time, DuPageHealth.org, COVID-19, and weekly updates. So please consider signing up for those. It's your best way to be as informed as you can be about the status of COVID in DuPage County and the status of vaccines, which I know is super important to everybody. With that, is there a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Rosa, please call the roll.
Commissioner Jose?
Aye.
Commissioner Earl?
Aye.
Commissioner Gray,
Aye.
Commissioner Sadowski-Fugit,
Aye.
Commissioner Wallace,
Aye.
Mayor Barnett.
Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you and good night.